Hey everyone, so today we're going to talk about stuff that every Prot Paladin should know. And the topics we're going to cover are the defense table, Uncrushable, Uncrittable, drink walking, spell coefficients, spell hit, and Consecration Functionality. So first thing we're going to look at is the defense table. So here I have the Wowhead Gear Planner open, and this is a really easy way to look at the defense table. So down here we just go to defense table, and it'll show you what your defense table looks like against level 70 mobs and level 73 mobs. And also what your defense table looks like when you have Holy Shield active versus when you don't have Holy Shield active. So the way the defense table works, it goes from top to bottom, and it's going to start with miss, then go to dodge, then parry, then block, critical strike, crushing blow, and then a regular hit. And as soon as all of these add up to full avoidance, then anything below that is pushed off the table and cannot happen. So for a level 70 mob, full avoidance means 100% avoidance. For every level a mob is over your level, you're going to add 0.8% to that, because as mob level increases, you lose 0.2% chance to be missed, chance to dodge, chance to parry, and chance to block for each level the mob has over you. So 0.8% total lost avoidance for every level a mob has above you. So for a level 73 mob, that's going to be 2.4% reduced avoidance. So you need 102.4% total avoidance to never take a crushing blow, critical strike, or normal hit from a mob. So looking at this, if we were to somehow gain 102.4% dodge, anything below dodge would never happen. You would never see a parry, you would never see a block, critical strike, crushing blow, or hit. All you would see would be misses and dodges. And so this is how we become uncrittable or uncrushable. There is also another way we can become uncrittable, and that is through defense and resilience. Both of these stats will reduce your chance to be critically struck, and that is completely outside of avoidance. That's just a passive immunity you can get, and I'll show you really quick where you can look that up. So just go into your character sheet, mouse over defense, and you can see here right now it says I have a 5.36% reduced chance to be critically hit. And then if you go down here to my resilience, I have a 1.6% reduced chance to be crit from resilience. So you can add those two together, and that's my total chance to not be crit. You can see right now in this gear, I have way more than I need. I have 6.96% reduced chance to be crit. And for level 70 mobs, you just need 5%. And for every level the mob has above you, you need 0.2% more. So you're going to need 5% for 70, 5.2% for 71, 5.4% for 72, and 5.6% for 73. All boss mobs in the game count as 3 levels higher than you. So currently they count as a level 73 mob. And let's go back to the defense table. So you can either push critical strikes off by becoming immune to them through defense and resilience, which is the easiest way to do it. And it's really nice because it doesn't rely on redoubt or holy shield or having an insane amount of avoidance to just push critical strikes off the table. Crushing blows, on the other hand, there's no way you can become immune to them in the same way that you can critical strikes. So we do have to use avoidance to push those off the table. And the only mobs that can get a crushing blow on you are those that are 3 or more levels higher than you. So that's going to be boss mobs, of course. There are some mobs that are level 73 or boss mobs that cannot crush. And some examples of those are Illidan, Mother Shiraz, the Phoenixes on Kael'thas, and those are more of the exception to the rule. Generally, anything that is 3 levels higher than you will be able to crush you, but there are some cases like that where they cannot crush. So to push crushing blows off the table, we just need to make sure we have 102.4% avoidance. So an easy way to do that is using this macro. I'll have this in the description, and I'll also have a quick reference guide for all these numbers in the description too, because it takes a while to learn them all. Eventually you'll probably just memorize them because of all the times you look them up, but you'll have that quick reference guide just to check numbers, so you don't have to rewatch the video anytime you need to reference one of the numbers. So let me pull my chat log out here. So I press the Uncrushable macro, and it'll tell me I need 102.4% combined avoidance, and I currently have 67.9%. But this is without Holy Shield. So let's use Holy Shield, and then we'll press it again. So now I have 97.9%. So I'm still short, and not quite at that 1.24%. I put on my Librum of Repentance, and now we're at 103. So now we are crush capped. All right, so now we're going to talk about Consecration Functionality. So this is a really misunderstood spell because it's super janky. It doesn't really behave the way most spells do. So every time you consecrate, there's going to be 9 events that happen. The first one, we'll call it the Consecration Spell Effect. That's just a spell effect that happens. It doesn't do any damage, but it has some weird properties, like it'll destroy the projections of spectral tutors in Scholomance, and it can also resist, which will proc Eye of Magtheridon. The next 8 events are all going to be ticks of Consecrate for damage, and these ticks actually can be resisted, but they will not show up in the combat log as resist, and they will not proc Eye of Magtheridon when they do resist. So the way we can see this, here we have a standard Consecrate, and we can see here that at the exact same time, we both had a resist of Consecration and we had a tick of Consecration. So the only way that can happen is the existence of the Consecration spell effect. So we started off here with the Consecration spell effect resisting, Proctor Eye of Magtheridon, and then we had 8 ticks of Consecrate, which all did damage. None of them resisted. You can see there's 1 every second here. And so that is a full Consecration right there, spell effect, and then 8 ticks. And we can verify that Consecration ticks can resist. And so we can go into the logs, and we see here, this is the very first Consecrate I casted in this fight. And we have a tick at 4.7 seconds, and then our next tick is at 6.7 seconds. So that means we went 2 seconds between Consecrate ticks, which means we're missing a tick. So that's a tick that resisted. So this Consecrate only gave us 7 ticks for damage because we had a resist. This spell is really, really weird in that it doesn't report these resists to you. The only way you can figure this out is by looking at Warcraft logs and checking the timestamps of everything. But you can clearly see that the ticks can resist. And this is actually what makes spell power really strong for Prot Paladins, is it reduces the chance for your Consecration ticks to resist. And Consecration's obviously one of your best spells, so hitting with it is pretty valuable. And for spell hit, you need 3% spell hit if you're attacking something the same level as you, 4% if you're attacking something 1 level higher, 5% for something 2 levels higher, and 16% for something 3 levels higher. So that's going to be boss mobs. And also, there's always a 1% chance that your spells can be resisted regardless of what your spell hit is. So when we talk about spell hit cap, we really mean 99% chance to hit with your spells, because you cannot go higher than 99% with spell hit. The next thing we're going to talk about are spell coefficients. So the spell coefficient is the percentage of your spell damage that will be added to the spell. So we can see here that Consecration has a spell coefficient of 95.2%. And so that means if we had 1000 spell power, then 95.2% of that spell power would be added to our total consecration damage. And so that would be 952 additional consecration damage. But that's to the totality of consecration. So when we break that into 8 ticks, it's going to be 11.9% per tick. So in this case, we would get 119 more damage to each tick of Consecrate if we had 1000 spell power. So now that we've looked at different offensive and defensive stats and how they affect our character and how the level of our enemy affects how much of each stat we want, what's our BIS gear? So we don't really have any specific BIS setup. I'm going to show you my item rack here. These are all the sets I have, and I also use more that I don't even have sets set up for here, where I might just change like a trinket or two, or change a couple rings or something like that. And so we use a ton of different gear. So you can see here, I have a whole extra bag of gear that I bring to every raid, and with resist gear and stuff, it's even more than a full bag. So it's really dependent on what you're fighting, what you need to be wearing. And so if you're fighting level 70 trash, obviously you don't need to be uncrushable. In that case, something like armor is going to be a lot more valuable. Or if the trash doesn't hit hard at all, then you might want to go for pure spell damage. And if you're fighting a boss that doesn't hit very hard, you're probably going to want a lot of spell hit. So what you're fighting is really going to dictate what kind of gear you're wearing, and you're probably not going to wear the exact same set of gear for almost anything. You're going to slightly tweak some things for almost every single thing you do, whether it's trash or bosses, whatever it is. And it's also going to depend on your role. So if you're, let's say, like an off tank on Lurker Below, you're obviously going to be gearing very differently than if you're main tanking Lurker Below. And also, it's going to depend on your raid as a whole too. So if you have a lot of people in your raid that do a ton of damage, you're probably going to need to be gearing more on the thready side so that you can keep up with them on threat and let them maximize their damage. If you have bad healers in your guild, then you may need to go a little higher on avoidance. So those are kind of the main things that are going to factor into your gearing choices. So the last thing we're going to talk about here is drink walking. This is super, super good for paladins because we often run out of mana, and this allows us to get our mana back while we're on the move, moving towards the next pull. So I'll show you an example of it here. This is just me starting at the Gates of Orgrimmar with no mana and just running up to this tree here. And so I have a weak aura here, and every time that blue bar is about to reach full, I just need to press my drink button and I'll get about 400 mana back. And I'll have that weak aura in the description for you. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'm always happy to answer questions. Just leave a comment if you got any questions, and I'll see you in the next one.